Hey, this is Milo, and the title of this video is Life is Meaningless. What do I mean by this? Well, simply put, we give the meaning to everything that happens in our life. Anything that's good, anything that's bad, we are the ones giving it meaning. And because we reinforce that meaning through other people's, other people accepting that meaning, societal, cultural beliefs, we are the ones that say this event that happened is good, this is bad. And ultimately, we're not seeing reality for what it is, we are just giving it a meaning. So we're not seeing truth, we're seeing it through a filter that has been given to us by our upbringing, by our society, and as I said, and our culture ultimately, because that is the program, our default program that makes us think what is good, what is bad, and how things should be happening and what should be going differently. And our little egoic self thinks that life shouldn't be happening this way, or it should be happening this way. And if it doesn't, then life's awful. This is not the way it should be. But ultimately, life is just truth. There is no meaning to it. It's just events happening. Life is just something that's taking place, and we are the ones giving the false perceptions, and we call it reality. That's what we call reality. When really, that's just the projection of our mind that we're given to the events happening in life. So an example could be, let's say there is an argument between two people, two family members or friends, whatever. We often think, this is bad. This is so quote unquote bad, because that's just in our mind. We think arguments should be happening, or you should always get along and whatever. But on a bigger picture, on a higher scale, what if that argument was happening because there was an underlying issue that needed to be resolved? Or perhaps those people are not meant for each other because maybe one is doing something behind the other person's back, so the argument happened for them to sort of break up and go their separate ways, so then those people could meet individuals that are more aligned to them. Or even maybe the argument happened so that they can work on those underlying issues. As I mentioned before, there was underlying issues they didn't know of, so that argument happened to bring those underlying problems to the surface so they can resolve it, and maybe the relationship gets stronger like that. There's actually multiple things that could happen, but we think it should happen only one way. We pinpoint our attention, all our ideas onto one thing that could be happening or should be happening. And in reality, there's billions, trillions, maybe even whatever's bigger than trillions. I don't even know what that number is after that, but apparently Googleplex is a number, but whatever. There's so many. The point is, there's so many different things that could be happening, or so many different meanings that could be given to one event or scenario that's happening. But we think in our little peanut-sized brains that life should be just this way, and that's it. If it doesn't happen this way, or if this thing doesn't happen, then life's awful. But you're almost limiting yourself. Like you are. Think how much of a prison that is to be in mentally. That out of the billions, trillions of things that could happen, you think that life should happen from this one little tiny perception or one idea that you've got. It's kind of selfish when you think about it as well. Like reality, God, universe, whatever, has got all these variations, all these multitude of things that it could make, and you think, well, it has to listen to what I want because I'm so important. Well, this is, like I say, the universe or God can create whatever it wants. So why would it just, have the idea of one tiny individual rather than the collective? So it's going to think of a collective macro scale rather than just from one person's point of view. But we don't see that. We just think we're the most important people in this world. Our little egoic self thinks we are the main person in the show, and we're just so irrelevant. We're completely irrelevant, and ultimately we are in the grand scheme of things, we are nobody, literally nobody, because we are a soul living in a body. But if you say that to people, you are nobody because you don't have a body, they go, I've got a body, of course I can see it. But that's I guess a different perception, a different level of awareness and consciousness, which 99% of society probably are nowhere near. And maybe we're not meant to be. Maybe we're meant to fully think we are this body to experience this whole human game fully. Maybe that's the point. to forget that you're part of that, that soul, that spirit, so then you can experience this humanly earth and get that full experience, like completely, like immerse yourself in it. And then you go back to soul after and go, okay, I've taken this experience, what can I take to the soul level? So I guess in a way, just have a sip of water. Maybe that's why life is meaningless. Maybe that's the whole point. Maybe the point of life is to have these experiences, but each human, each individual is looking at those experiences from a different perception, a different viewpoint. So we give it that meaning, and based off the meaning we give it, will determine the experience we have. And maybe we came into this world to get a particular experience, which is what we take back to soul, to spirit. So maybe it's meant to be like that. Maybe we are meant to give it the meaning to have that specific experience. And I know we see in the world, actually, there's a lot of suffering, at least from a human perspective. But what if from a higher perspective, from the point of view that's infinite, that's never dying, the soul, the spirit, what if it wanted to experience that suffering because it can perhaps learn something? Maybe it knows what not to do in the future. It maybe knows what not to do in the next life. It maybe knows, to understand what it's like to suffer. Because when you're in the soul point, everything's bliss, everything's peace, everything's, there is no harming, there's no suffering, there's no separateness, so to speak, because you're connected. But what if in the human level you wanted to experience that suffering? Because imagine if you knew you're alive forever, and then you see, and you could get an experience that says like a little blip in eternity, just a little 50 years, let's say, you're going to experience a bit of suffering, maybe a fight, a war, or whatever. But you'd know at the end of that, you're going back to eternity, to internal bliss, to wherever it is, back home, if you could call it that, back at source. So maybe you go into this game knowing that's going to happen, because you know you're going to come out unscathed. Well, that true essence, that true part of you is not going to be touched. So anyway, life is meaningless. And these talks often, they go from one complete idea to another, but they're all interlinked in some way. They can go from something as extreme as, like I say, talking about the soul point of view, to talking about something like just everyday activities. And I think it's good to incorporate all of them, because whilst we do come from a macrocosm, we come from the eternal, the infinite, we are experiencing the finite. That's little human point, as I said before, little human lives, little worldly experiences. So it's important to incorporate both. It's all good saying like, well, I know I'm soul and I'm spirit, I'm infinite, I can't be touched, I don't die, all this stuff. But then you don't include the everyday things in life. Maybe you just sit in a cave all day, which there is a place for certain individuals that maybe their life is to be in a cave, that is their purpose. But individuals have, like, if you're a yogi or a guru or something, maybe you have that is your life mission for this life, to sit in a cave because you've got a specific mission. But for most of us, that's not the case. For most of us, it is, still do those worldly things, but still be connected to that spirit, That's what, it's almost, it's now I don't know too much about, a lot of religion and stuff, but that is almost what Jesus' teachings were, to be in the world, but not of it, he says. So, because he's in spirit, connected to spirit, that's part of himself that is, part of the whole, part of the one, but he's just doing these daily activities. So he's almost like come into this world unfazed, that's ultimate version of him, knowing that nothing can truly happen to him, and he's just seeing almost like the play unfold. So you're like in the play, you can see it, knowing that nothing's going to happen to you. And I think that's very important, because a lot of us, when we get into this self-development or spiritual journey, and I've been there myself, we often neglect the humanly things, because we think, oh, it's all pointless, it's all meaningless, it's all mundane. When you imagine you've just experienced a part of you didn't know existed. You're no longer the old self. You've just found out there's this whole other realities. There's this, there's this all internal world that you never knew of. to go from that to then come back to world and talk about, what did you do at the weekend? Yes, I took the kids out to the park, or oh, I went to get some drinks with my friend. It's a little bit, it's quite shit when you think about it. But there's certain phases, there's certain stages, and I guess the initial stage of that, you almost push the humanly things away. You say, like, this is boring, this is I no longer care about this stuff. But eventually you come back to full circle and you start seeing the beauty in just these little boring, mundane, humanly things. Like even something as a little basic conversation with a colleague or a friend or a family member can actually end up being, you can almost get such bliss in those little tiny things. Just walking out to the park, grabbing a coffee, grabbing a glass of water can provide such a blissful moment. But that stage comes after. It comes eventually after you've gone through, that, I guess you've gone through the clear out phase, you've experienced these higher highs and these higher states of awareness and perception, and you almost come back to the world as that newer version of you. So you almost live those worldly things. Now, I should say, like, before you start this awakening spirituality journey, we're a completely different human to when we come back into it. So it's almost like you're in the world, you're oblivious to what's going on. And one of my favourite gurus, Ram Dass, talks about this. I always mention him, but he's like, you're in the world, you're in this separateness, you're in the many. And then when you go on this awakening journey, you almost go back to that one temporarily, that spirit side, that you've almost left the world for a bit, gone to that spirit to see what that's all about. And it's so cool, and there's this cool stuff here. But when you come back into the, let's call it the real world again, you're coming back as part of that one, but in this world. So even though you're here and it looks like nothing has changed on the external, everything's changed, because that internal now has got that godly essence, that universal essence running through you. Whereas before you didn't have that. Before you were just fully separate to, separated from God, separated from the universe, and even separated to everyone around you. But you've almost gone from, this is the earth, whatever, you've gone to the one, to that universal place, whatever, to God, whatever you want to call it. Done that inner work, done the clearing, you come back in, almost seeing it from a new perception, seeing that oneness in everyone, almost seeing the godliness in everyone. So when you come back, that's when, I guess, when the real work begins, because now you know what's out there, what's possible, what those states can be. Maybe now you know what your mission is. So it's not pushing away either one, it's about staying balanced to embrace both. And maybe you no longer do the things that you used to do when you come back into the world. Maybe those things have not so much interest anymore. Or maybe you set more boundaries. Before, maybe you would spend the whole of your weekend hanging out with friends, drinking, going to the bars, going to restaurants. Maybe now you do that a lot less because you're now purposeful. You're living with a mission. You're more selective with your time. And even if you don't have much else to do, maybe before you'd hang out with some friends, but now you're like, I'd rather spend that time alone because I enjoy my own company. So you do come into the world as a completely different person, even though on the outside it doesn't look like that. And I will say as well, because in this society, it definitely needs a restructure, which I believe is actually happening as we speak in 2024 and even going forward from here. We come back, but success in society is determined by the external. What do you look like? Do you look in good shape? Do you have a good job? Do you have money? Are you working 10 hours a day? Because that's what determines, success and, hard work and all that. And if you don't do these things, you don't have this fancy car, you're determined as a bit of a bum. But no one determines, success by saying, have you gone back to that internal self, that godly self, done that inner work, done that cleansing, got in touch with your purpose, that higher mission, your dharma, so to speak. And are you working on your dharma, your purpose every single day and working on your perceptions and all this kind of stuff? But no, we just see you've got a good career, have you got this, have you got money, have you got, have you got this material thing? So if you do end up going on this, I guess on the extending this journey further. Expect to be a lot more of solitude and alone time, because you will start to see that the people, it doesn't resonate anymore. And the stuff that you're experiencing, if other people are not experiencing it, they either won't understand it, and they'll be like, what are you talking about, you weirdo? So they won't understand it, for one. But two, they're also stuck in their own ways as well. So it's almost, you would rather not talk about that stuff with people unless they're like 100% on your wavelength, so to speak. And I don't know how I ended up on the point of that. I was talking about life is meaningless, and we've ended up about purpose and Dharma, which is, I guess in one way or another, it's all interlinked. Maybe towards the end of this talk, I'll realise how they're all interlinked. And it kind of brings me on to another point, actually, because right now on this tour, I'm just talking, whatever needs to come up comes up. And right now I'm thinking, okay, was that interlinked, or was that just a load of random stuff? But at the end of this talk, maybe I'll look and I'll see all the points where they sort of link together and how they relate and stuff like that. And why do I say this? Because also in our everyday lives, when an event happens and we give it that meaning from our limited perception, because we can't see the bigger picture, we can't see the reason why things happened. So we're seeing it from this point of view, when universe and God are seeing it from the wider point. So it's saying this stepping stone had to happen for then this to happen, 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 to then get to this end goal. Rather than just seeing it from this little, they do say as well, Bashar says, our human mind, the conscious part of our mind, which is that 10%, it's only designed to see the next move ahead. It's not designed to see the next 10 steps, the next 20 steps, or even the how to get to that end goal. It's just designed to do that next step that you need to do. Because imagine if you had an end goal, you had a mission, and you knew that you were there planning out, you knew exactly all the 20 steps, 30 steps, you'd get so overwhelmed that it will just lead to a burnout, an overdrive. So it is literally there. We think we need to know every step and how everything should go, and what should be done next, what should happen next, and how the exact way it should happen. We have no idea. Just follow the next step is the point. Don't worry about the next 20. Know the end goal. That's the bit when you connect to that higher self, the meditative state you get in to know the end goal. And when you come back into this human state, this human body, this worldly, this world, that's when you just take the next step. You get that intuitive call to say, I know I should do this job as my next career path. Don't know why, but it just, something feels right. Maybe then in that job you network with someone who can lead you to the next step, who can give you an opportunity, or you meet a really good friend who you end up doing stuff with, or there's so many different things that can happen when you just follow that intuitive feeling, that intuitive call. But we don't know how it's going to go, and it often doesn't go the way we think it should go. A good example of that is often people, when they're looking for partners, girlfriends, boyfriends, husbands, wives, whatever, they've got a particular image in mind of what the person likes. The person should have green eyes, should be making 6 figures, should be this tall, this height, this weight, this colour hair, this body type. So that they've pictured this, the image of this person that's just based off physical, not realising that it's actually the emotion that the person brings up in you, that feeling of this feels right, that inner knowing, that lovely warm feeling inside. That's what people should be going for when looking for a partner or a companion. So you could in fact meet someone that looks like the person you think it should, maybe like I said, the brunette, green eyes, whatever. So you'll end up looking at that person, when really the person that give you those feelings, those emotions, is the complete opposite direction. But because you're so focused on the external, you're only looking at that one person. Maybe that one person is taken. Maybe they're an awful person. Maybe they'll treat you badly and steal all your money. but we think it should go like this because I know how it should be. Whereas really someone that way is approaching you, and they're actually the perfect match for you in the grand scheme of things, but we push that away and go, no, this person's blonde, he's blonde, she's blonde, I only said brunette, so I'll go for this person. So we get once again, we think life should go the way we want it to go. And I guess it's different stages again. I guess the first stage of life would be we're in this egoic self, life is me, it's what I want and all this kind of stuff, and life should go the way I say it should go, and I know best. The universe doesn't know best, no one else but knows best, I know best. We think like we're the almost dictating everything that happens. And I guess as you start awakening, you realise there's something that is working, behind the scenes, making all this stuff happen. It's not, and stuff's happening almost naturally, call it magically, however you will, but in such a synchronistic flow-like state. And when you get rid of those meanings from the stuff, you realise everything is actually there. The things you wanted are actually there, just slightly different to the way you thought they should be. So I'll give a good example. I actually, before starting to do these talks, I thought, I really want to do like public speaking. Would love to do public speaking, just do some talks, teachings or whatever in front of an audience, all this kind of stuff. So I'm there looking for jobs, I'm looking for volunteering, all this stuff, and eventually found some volunteering. But the point is, I was looking for ages, it had to be this way, it has to be a job in public speaking, or I have to have a big audience and I have to be on a stage and do all this stuff. And then I kind of realised, hang on a minute, I can do public speaking just sitting in front of my phone like I'm doing now. I'm still doing the public speaking. Okay, there's not thousands, millions of people, whatever, watching in the future, who knows, but the point is, I'm doing public speaking here. I can literally do it by myself in a room and still do that public speaking. Or the other thing that happened, there was this opportunity to do some talks with a volunteering charity. So it wasn't on a stage or having a page with thousands of viewers or whatever it may be on at a big event. I can still do the public speaking, but it's completely different to the way I thought. But had I listened to that egoic self and pushed away all the other stuff and said it only has to be this way, I would have pushed away this opportunity of doing the speaking as I'm doing now. And the thing is, if you truly want to do that thing, it won't matter about the rewards you get for it. So you do it without expectation is my point. Someone may think, let's just stick to the public speaking. I could have been I want to do public speaking and get paid money for it or something. So I'm doing it with an expectation against something in return, or I want to do this speaking and then people give me a job or a career because of it. So you've got that expectation versus doing it because you truly want to do it. Every time you talk in front of that camera or in front of the audience, you just enjoy it. You're not, obviously, if something happens, great, you're not going to turn it down, but you do it because you want to, you love it, and you want to just keep doing it, and there's no pressure. You're not doing it if someone sees it, cool. If no one sees it, cool. You're just doing it because you want to. That's enjoying the process, no expectation. A lovely quote by Bashar, it was a quote on how to fulfill your passion or your highest desire and get your manifestation. It's follow the path of highest excitement at every given opportunity with no expectation of the outcome. So what does that mean? It means, say you've got a passion or you've got something that's exciting you feel called to do. In each moment you would do that, and you would do that to the best of your ability, as best as you can, but you wouldn't expect something to come of it. So if right now in this moment I feel I just feel excited to do a talk in front of the camera, I get it, I do my talk to the best I can. Maybe I can only manage a 5-minute talk. Cool, okay, I do 5-minute talks, turn it off, finished. But I don't expect anything to come of that. I don't expect anything to come of that, meaning I don't expect then to become a millionaire because of this talk and then get disappointed if it doesn't happen. You just do it for the fun, and then you do the next thing that's exciting. Maybe the next thing after that is to share it with a friend. Cool, I share it, but then no expectation of outcome. But in each moment, you do that thing that excites you, that fulfills you, and you don't expect anything of it. And the reason they say to do that without any expectation is because you're doing the thing that leads to the next step all the time. So it may not be that doing the talk in front of this camera is the end goal, but it may lead to the next step, which will lead to the next step, will lead to the next step, to then get to the end goal, whatever the end goal is for each individual. Obviously, it's different for everyone. But the point is, and it goes back to the title of this topic, life is meaningless. It's like we are giving the meaning and the expectation to each thing that happens or we're doing, saying this has to happen this way when it doesn't. You know, it's just happening, and we're giving it the meaning and saying I want it to be like this, and we're causing our own suffering if it doesn't happen that way. And the Buddhists actually talk about this a lot. They say about suffering. They obviously say that life is suffering, but one of the ways they say that the suffering is caused, they say it's caused by ourselves. It's caused by, an event happening or something happening, and us giving it that label, the meaning, and then keep replaying that thing over and over again rather than just letting it go. So, an example again, you've had an argument with a family member or a friend. Okay, maybe it hurts. Maybe you go different ways. Maybe you're upset. But because you're saying this person did that to me, this person did that, and he shouldn't have said that, he should have said that, he should have come to me and said it like this, and blah 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 blah. You've attached a load of labels. You said it should have been like this because I said it should be like this. No. What if it's just happening? If you were not emotionally attached to that thing and emotionally charged, and you were just seeing it happen in front of you, maybe you'd see, actually, hang on a minute, I can see this person's got a lot of flaws anyway. I can see this person maybe didn't want to, be friends anymore, or didn't want to do the things anyway. So maybe this is actually for the best, And leading on from that, the second part is, we have an argument or something's happened, months later, years later, you're still talking about the same thing. 5 years ago, do you still speak to David? No, I don't speak to David. We had an argument. Well, you're reliving the same emotion again. Like, it's over. The suffering, you're causing the suffering again because you're reliving it again. It's almost like you've been shot once, yeah, and then, okay, it hurts. Okay, you're bleeding, it hurts. You had to go to hospital the first time, and you just go, you know what? I'm going to shoot myself again in the face just for the fun of it. Bang! That's literally what you're doing every time. You're reliving the same trauma or the same, painful, negative experience. You're like, bang, shoot myself again. Okay, it hurt that time, but you know what? I'll do it again because next time, bang! Like, how dumb is that? Like, you're literally shooting yourself with a gun out of choice. And it's not to say you run away from these things. Like, if someone brings up the past event, you run away from it because no, I don't want to do that. No, you accept it for what it is and you let it go. You heal from it, you learn from it. We don't just choose to keep reliving the same experience. That's the dumbest thing ever that humans seem to keep doing. But it is what it is at the end of the day. And I guess it's getting kind of warm. Believe it or not, in the UK it is a very hot day. So I'm going to look to wrap this video up. But once again, that's the meaning I've given it. That's the meaning I've given this particular moment. It's very hot. Hot according to, if someone lived in, say, Dubai, that's 45 degrees there, their meaning of this situation, their view of this situation is probably not that warm, because it's probably late 20s, 26, 27 degrees right now. For them, maybe that is completely different. For them, this is cooler temperatures. Maybe they're in a jumper here. Maybe it's perfectly fine for them. So our view of life, I guess, is determined by our perception, our experiences. Yeah. I'm going to wrap this video up, guys. Like I say, some of these videos I'm not sure if I just ramble or what happens, but I just say what needs to come up, and I can always add more to them in the future. And hopefully I can look back at these in weeks, months, years down the line and see some sort of, you know, some important messages. Maybe if I look back at them, or maybe if someone else looks at them, they can get that, you know, it can just hit differently when you look at stuff at a different time. Like, you can hear something once and it just nothing, you get nothing from it. You hear it again when you're ready, when the moment is right, and it can almost have an awakening moment for you. You got like that euphoric light bulb moment, and it just, you know, unless you've experienced it, it's hard to explain. But so that's why it's always good to come back to things again, like sometime down the line, like revisit these things, almost like what you'd do if you're revising for an exam. You'd look at it once, maybe later then you'd look at it again, but just to see if the progression you've made, any differences and stuff like that. All right, enjoy, guys.